This is Traben-Trarbach, a romantic little gem nestled in the heart of West Germany. It's the kind of place you go to forget the noise of the world, to sip a late harvest Riesling, and to watch time stand still. But time doesn't stand still for everyone. Just yards from these vineyards, buried 5 stories underground, behind walls designed to survive a nuclear apocalypse, lies Europe's darkest secret. This is where this man lives, Herman Xentt. You don't know him, and yet he may have already had a hand in ruining your digital life. Herman Xentt isn't some pimply hacker in his mom's basement. He is the architect of an impregnable fortress, a man who decided to offer political asylum to the worst of humanity. International drug traffickers, blackmailers, Irish mob bosses, and cyber attackers capable of paralyzing an entire country. For 5 years, law enforcement agencies around the world knew he was there, but no one could get in. How did one man manage to stand up to the most powerful governments? And more importantly, how did a handful of German investigators finally manage to breach the concrete? Welcome to the CyberBunker saga. To understand the monster, you have to go back to the man. The 90s. The internet is a wild frontier. It's the era of pioneers, of idealists. Herman Xentt is one of them. He's a cypherpunk. His gospel? Total freedom. For him, no information should ever be censored. Ever. But Xentt isn't a dreamer. He's a builder, and he has an obsession. Concrete. He is convinced that the digital world needs a physical vault. His first attempt is in the Netherlands in 1995. He leases a former NATO bunker. Everything seems legal, until 2002. That year, a fire tears through the facility. When firefighters enter the bunker's guts, they don't just find computer servers. They discover the remains of a clandestine ecstasy lab. Xentt gets away with it, citing a lack of direct evidence tying him to the drugs. But the lesson is learned. Concrete protects, but fire purges. He needs something bigger, stronger, and above all, more isolated. 2013. The Cold War has been over for a long time, and the German army is selling off its old toys. In Traben-Trarbach, there's this sleeping monster, a former meteorological command bunker. Size, 60,000 square feet. Depth, 5 levels. Resistance, can withstand a direct nuclear strike. The asking price, a steal. Around 350,000 euros, the price of a small city condo. Xentt buys it with cash, through a shadowy foundation. To the villagers, he presents himself as a harmless eccentric. With his long hair and his lieutenant, Sven Olaf Kampuis, an activist who calls himself the Prince of CyberBunker, they just seem like a couple of weird geeks. The neighbors just shrug. As long as they don't make any noise. They wouldn't make any noise. And that was exactly the problem. Xentt had his fortress. All he needed now were tenants. And he wasn't going to be picky about their resumes. Imagine a hotel. In a normal hotel, if the police show up and say, "The guest in room 203 is dealing cocaine," the manager hands over the key. At CyberBunker, it's different. Their business promise comes down to 2 words. Bulletproof Hosting. Police call, they hang up. A judge sends a warrant, it ends up in the trash. Their only official rule proudly displayed. No terrorism, no child pornography. That's the window dressing. The reality, if you pay in Bitcoin, you can do whatever you want.
We offer total anonymity. Our servers are located in a sovereign military installation. We answer to no law but our own.
And the clients flocked in. First, Wall Street Market, the second largest drug supermarket in the world. Cocaine, heroin, fake IDs. It all flowed through the cables in Traben-Trarbach. Then, there was the Mirai attack. In November 2016, 1 million Germans instantly lost their internet connection. Deutsche Telekom was on its knees. It was a massive cyber attack launched from, you guessed it, The bunker. Xennt wasn't selling the drugs. He wasn't launching the attack. He was providing the power and the connection. He was the landlord looking the other way while his tenants built bombs. But the most disturbing part wasn't the geeks. It was when organized crime came knocking on the blast door. Intelligence services detected connections linked to George Mitchell, nicknamed the Penguin, the godfather of the Irish mob. A man who doesn't deal in bytes, but in bodies. Xentt's servers began hosting encrypted communication systems for the cartels. This was no longer about free speech. This was about the logistics for assassinations. Everyone knew what was happening in there. The FBI, the German criminal police, the LKA. But knowing is one thing. Proving what's happening behind 15 feet of concrete is another. So why didn't the police just smash the door down in 2015? Because of a German legal loophole, the provider privilege. The provider's privilege. Basically, I'm just the mailman. I'm not responsible if you send a letter bomb. To arrest Xennt, it wasn't enough to prove that crimes were happening on his servers. They had to prove he was an active accomplice, that he was helping the criminals hide. And Xennt was smart. He left no paper trail. The LKA then launched Operation Zyklop. If we can't get in, we'll listen to the walls. For 5 years, investigators would live and breathe the bunker's rhythm. They placed an undercover agent, a gardener, a handyman who hung around the property. He watched deliveries, jotted down license plates. But the real weapon was invisible. The police managed to tap the fiber optic cables coming out of the bunker before they joined the global network. They analyzed the data volume. They could see the monster breathing. And one day, they intercepted conversations. Xentt and his employees weren't just hosting. They were helping to reboot the traffickers' servers, giving advice. They were participating. The mailman had just been caught helping to wrap the bomb. The proof was there. But one massive problem remained. If the police came knocking, Xentt had promised he had a self-destruct button. Powerful magnets capable of wiping the hard drives in seconds. September 26th, 2019. Go time. The police knew a frontal assault on the bunker was investigative suicide. Xentt would wipe everything before they got through the first door. They had to lure him out. Xentt was a creature of habit. He liked to have lunch in town. That afternoon, he's at a table in Trarbach. Maybe he's ordering a coffee. He doesn't see the plainclothes officers standing up around him.
Herman Xentt?
Yes?
Criminal police, you're under arrest.
No shouting, no gunfire. The king had fallen. But back at the bunker, the servers were still running, and his accomplices were inside. At the exact same moment, 650 police officers, including the elite GSG-9 unit, swarm the property. It's a military-style invasion. They have to reach the server room on level B-2 before someone can hit the kill switch. They move through the concrete labyrinth, hallway after hallway, blast door after blast door. They neutralize the employees one by one. They reach the server room. They breach. The roar of the fans is deafening. Hundreds of lights are blinking. They don't touch the keyboards. They cut the power. They secure the drives. There was no explosion, no magnetic wipe. Xentt had been bluffing, or he'd just run out of time. That day, the German police seized 2 petabytes of data. That's a stack of paper 400 times taller than Mount Everest. The bunker had fallen, but for Xentt, the fight was just beginning. This time, in a courtroom. The trial opens in Trier in 2020. It would last for over a year. On the stand, Herman Xentt is fascinating. He doesn't apologize. He plays the role of the clueless tech guy. His defense never wavers. I rent out space. What my clients do is not my business. I am defending freedom. But the prosecutor, Jörg Angerer, has the hard drives. He shows that Xennt and his team actively helped cybercriminals evade police, that they configured systems to optimize attacks. The libertarian myth crumbled. All that was left was a criminal entrepreneur. December 2021. The verdict comes down. Herman Xentt is found guilty of forming a criminal organization. The sentence: 5 years and 9 months in prison. 5 years? For hosting the worst criminals of the century? It might sound like a slap on the wrist, but the real punishment was something else. In December 2023, the Federal Court of Justice upheld the sentence and, most importantly, the forfeiture. The German state seized the bunker. Xennt had lost everything: his empire, his fortress, and his dream of a lawless internet. Herman Xennt wanted to create an untouchable kingdom. He believed concrete could stop justice. He was wrong. But the CyberBunker case leaves us with a dizzying question. While Xentt is in prison, other bunkers are powering up. Other bulletproof servers are booting up in Russia, in Asia, or maybe right next door. Xentt wasn't an anomaly. He was a prototype. The CyberBunker case changed the laws of the internet forever. If you want to understand how technology is redefining crime, subscribe and hit the bell. More investigations are on the way, and tell me in the comments, in your opinion, was Herman Xentt a dangerous criminal or a misunderstood pioneer of free speech? I can't wait to read your thoughts.